Right guys, you're joining me live on the banks of Willow Lake, which is on the Linch Hill complex in Oxfordshire. It's a venue steeped in history, and they used to be syndicate. Now they're on a day ticket. Christchurch and this Lake Willow, you can come on there, they're here for everybody. Lovely old carp, some really old scaly ones, and hopefully the perfect venue for this sort of thing. I came round first thing yesterday morning, had a good look round, only one angler on, and even though conditions were overcast, windy, didn't see anything. You wouldn't believe there was a couple of 100 carp in it. It looked absolutely dead. Anyway, I went a little bit despondent, went back to the car and bumped into the bailiff and had a quick chat with him, and he advised me to go down the far end of the lake, the furthest walk from the car park, and there's an area of like roped off snags, and he said the fish tend to get in there a lot during the day, and it's a very good swim where I am, where they can sort of pass out into the open water in front of me. So anyway, I got the gear, brought it round to the swim, and immediately I had a little look in the snags, hoping to see a few fish. But being autumn and being overcast, they just weren't in the shallow parts under the trees. And I've got to admit, again, it just didn't look like they were here. But when he got 2 nights, I thought I'm going to go on his advice to start with, and hopefully we'd see a few fish. So the first port of call was get the plumbing rod out. And I had a good lead round in open water. And it seemed to me that I found a lot of gravel between a quarter of the way out to just under halfway, sort of a couple of seams, definitely came up a little bit, and they were all really clean. You could tell the fish had fed on them a lot at some point, and I decided to fish as far as I could find the gravel, so on the back of it, just as it started, on smooth, firm, but not full-blown rat-a-tat-tat gravel, you know, just the first few sort of bumps, then on nice, smooth, hard ground. Looked like the ideal spot, so I put 2 rods onto it. It's 40 yards out with a dozen spoms around it, and the rigs were just coated end trap all the way through, peeled hair with half a 12mm pop-up and just a cut down 15mm bottom bait. Because I'm fishing neat corn in the spod, that little yellow cap, you know, it's just trying to mimic that really, you know, just they're eating yellow, give them something yellow, easy to find. So that was those 2 rods out in open water. Then I had 1 more rod to put out. And because you've got those that are roped off snags, even though I hadn't seen any fish in there, obviously I couldn't see all the way out into deep water, so I still wanted to have one there. And literally just as I'd rigged up and I come out of the bivvy, I heard a noise, looked round and just see these ripples coming back from the rope, so it couldn't have been any better. Slipped on the waders, walked down the bank a little way, probably 10 yards, just so I could get the nice short range, plopped it close to the rope, maybe a foot off, and there was these floats on the rope, so I could see 3 floats at one end, 2 floats at another end, so I was casting between the 2. So I plopped that out there, put it on the rest, walked down into the trees, and then it was just a simple case of catapult range, really easy. Just put, I don't know, 15, 20 pouchfuls of corn. A lot of people, when they use corn, they buy cans, you know, and they put a few grains out. Corn is one of the most easily digested food for a carp, especially a big one. It's all water. They just chew it up and it goes straight through them. So don't be afraid with the corn, put quite a bit out, and that's what I did. As soon as it got dark, all my fears about the fish not being around were totally blown out of the water. They went absolutely crazy, like crashing out all over the open water near my 2 open water rods. But if I'm honest, they seem more the other side of halfway in the deeper, silty part of the water. And around 8 o'clock, the right-hand rod down by the rope, that produced the first fish. It's a 27 common, really nice one, really pleased with that. And because I've got a really powerful head torch, waded back down the margin, I had the line marked, just flicked it back out onto the clip, could see it land right next to the rope, and again went round into the trees, put a bit more bait round it, and it went again probably about 10:30. Obviously it's too early to keep them overnight, so cut a little bit of night footage and a little night shot of for them. And when I woke up in the morning and the open water rods hadn't gone, I was a little bit dumbfounded really. You think, that many fish out there, they were a little bit further out, but you'd have thought they'd have found it. So what I'm going to do today, because of the rod on the rope, that went down into what I would probably say silty bottom. And because of that, and the fact that I had quite a good session in Belgium fishing in silt recently, and I'm more of a gravel man to be honest, but because of the time of year, the autumn is probably when the silt fishing comes into its own, and because of the take I had down there and the fact that I've not had the takes out, when I wound in earlier, I wound in the 2 from what I thought was a good spot, both with clay on the ledge, you know, and clay, I've always found clay to be a great thing, you know, it's never a bad thing on a spot, but it just hasn't done the do. So like I say, I'm going to have a little plumb, a little bit further out, maybe a little bit deeper water, find a nice smooth bit of silt, go in with the same tactics, another dozen spots of corn. I'm going to keep the right hand rod out there. Like I say, I put that out there with a head torch last night and it went out there perfect. You know, I can't do any better. I've seen the fish around there again today, so I'm hopeful. But I want to try and get all three rods working. So that's where we're at the moment. I'm going to get on with the plumbing rod and try and find that silk spot now. Last time I spoke to you was yesterday afternoon, and I said I was going to have a little plumb around for a silk spot a little bit further out. I found that, put another 12 spots of bait around it, but unfortunately they haven't done anything. Thankfully, the right hand rod that's down towards that roped off area of snags, produced 4 more. I had a lovely 16-pound common, quite an unusual colour, really nice scales on him, and a really scaly mirror of around the same sort of size. I had another little one after that, but that one, it was absolutely torrential rain, so I slipped him back. He was only about 12 pounds. And then just before first light, I lost one. So the fish are obviously on the spot, and I've been using like the liners to indicate how much bait's gone. You know, I've been, if I recast and nothing really happens on the indicator, I've been going around into the snags, firing a few more pouchfuls of corn, and that seems to be generating a bit of interest. So I got it back out there, like I say, just around first light this morning, and I've topped it up with bait. The sun's broke through now, so with the action coming at night, I'm not sure. There's been action on the spot, so there's a chance of a bite, but I can't guarantee it. Right, well, we've got another one on. Feels like a much better fish. It's tip absolutely wrapped round on the margin rod towards that rope. Had a little bit of grating line going through the weed and stuff, but we've got him free, and it's looking like we're going to get him. Right, well, he's not as big as I thought. He's definitely getting on for around 20 pounds, and he looks like he's in mint condition. So let's get him on the bank and take a little look at him. Right, well, I said he felt a little bit better, and here he is, 2512 Oxfordshire Common. Over the moon with this one. I'm going to talk you through the tackle that I'm using. You know, I'm fishing to snag, so everything has to be really strong and reliable. I'm using size 8 choddy hooks. They've got an uprated wire gauge, and once they go in, they tend to stay put. I've got the 20-pound in-trap hook link. It's got the 20-pound Dyneema core, and that's really, really tough, so it rubs against anything, that will take that. I'm using a hybrid lead clip to dump the lead. So I'm set up perfectly for fishing to the snags, and it's all working out lovely. I'm going to get him back, have one more cast, and let's see if we can nick one more before we get out of here. Well, I'm rather surprised. Another daylight bite. I think yesterday I hadn't quite got something quite right. There must have been something wrong with the rig or the line lay, because it sat there for hours untouched. But now they really bang on that corn, seem to keep coming back for it. And I'm sure if we had a bit more time, another night or so, we could carry on catching a few here. This one, I tell you, it's definitely pulling hard. Cool. days. Well, we came to Oxford hoping for some action, but also on top of that, some of the real old scaly ones. And looking in the net, I think the last fish is a typical example of what you come to Linch Hill for. Truly, really, really lovely. I'm guessing he's about 25. Can't wait to get him on the bank and have a look. Well, what a way to finish. The biggest of 7 so far, 28 pounds, and check out the scales on him. Typical for Linch Hill, this fish. A cracking venue, so thanks to the guys here for letting us come. And one thing worth mentioning is all the fish came to that roped off snaggy area. And with all the fish showing in open water, I wouldn't have bet on it. But this time of year, they're probably seeking cover in this really clear water. And that's probably the reason for it being such a productive spot. But I'm gonna get him back, I'm gonna get myself home. One happy angler.